We're at Upper Hamlet Vet Vanguard during the spring retreat. About 10 days ago in the Netherlands, I was interviewed by some journalists. One of them asked me this final question. Thầy, you are already in your 70s. Is there anything you want to accomplish before you die? If this question had come from a practitioner, it would have been easy to answer. But since it came from a journalist, someone who may not yet understand Buddhist teachings, the answer was more difficult. I wanted to say I'm not going to die. But of course, the journalist wouldn't understand. I also wanted to say, there is nothing I feel I must do before I die. But that too would be hard for them to comprehend. I tried to explain in a way they could understand, but it was indeed challenging because they had never studied or practiced the Dharma. So what I was saying was difficult for them to accept. But if we reflect deeply, we can ask ourselves the same question now. How old am I? 70, 75, or perhaps just 50, or even 25. There's no certainty that a 70-year-old will die. After a 25-year-old, a young person could pass away in an accident. Before an elder. So this is a question we should ask ourselves. If I were to die next week, what would I want to accomplish before then? Some might answer, before I die, I want my country to become a democratic nation. Others might say, before I die, I want to see my children settle down, start families, and have stable jobs so I can pass away in peace. Each person will have a different answer. But as a maniac, how should I respond? Is there something I feel I must accomplish before I die? Do I need to finish building a temple? Complete a Dharma project? Establish a retreat center? Is there something special I need to do before I pass away? This question invites us to contemplate deeply. If we sit down and reflect on it, we may uncover something profound. I told the journalist, the things I want to do, I have already done. I am doing them now. From the time I was a young monk until today, I have been doing these things, and I have never stopped. These are simple things, nothing grand. So I don't feel there is anything special I need to accomplish before I die. Imagine a leaf that emerges in early spring. Around late March, it expresses its beauty. the fresh green of its youth. Each day, it absorbs sunlight, draws in water and minerals from the roots, and takes in gases from the air to produce sap. The sap drawn from the roots is raw and lacks nutrients. The leaf absorbs sunlight and air, transforming the raw sap into refined sap, rich in nutrients, before sending it back to nourish the tree and its branches. All leaves serve this purpose. They nourish themselves and at the same time nourish their mother. The tree. We often think that the trunk and roots feed the leaves. But in reality, if we look closely, we see that the leaves also nourish the trunk and branches. It is not only the mother who feeds the child. The child also feeds the mother. This is true for me as well. I have many disciples, and I feel deeply nourished by them. They bring me great joy every day. If my students practice diligently and cultivate happiness in themselves and others, helping to alleviate suffering, this is a precious source of nourishment for me. So in reality, the tree does not just nourish the leaves. The leaves also nourish the tree. And they do so from the very beginning, not just when they mature. Since childhood, I have sought the Buddha. Since I first learned to breathe, I have heard the call of the Buddha. From the moment I began practicing, I have nourished my own spiritual life. But at the same time, I have also been nourishing the Buddha. The Buddha is the tree, and I am the leaf. If the Buddha continues to exist in the world, and his teachings continue to be shared, it is because of us, his disciples. Each moment that we breathe mindfully, each mindful step we take, we nourish ourselves and we nourish the Buddha. If the Dharma endures and continues to benefit people in the future, it is because of our daily practice. We often refer to the Buddhist teachings as Dharma milk, nourishing and sustaining us. We see the Buddha as a father and mother who nurtures us, but we may not realize that we, too, are nurturing the Buddha. When we walk in mindfulness, when we sit in meditation, when we smile, when we transform our suffering and help others, at that very moment, we are also nourishing the Buddha. A child nourishes their mother. A bird nurtures the tree it nests in. This has been happening since the beginning. From the day I became a monk until now, not a single day has passed without this practice. So when someone asks me, "What do you want to accomplish before you die?" I hesitate, because everything I have wanted to do, I have been doing all along. There is nothing left undone. From now until the day I die, I will continue doing what I have always done. Nourishing myself, nourishing the Buddha, and nourishing life. To nourish the Buddha is to nourish the world. Life is full of suffering, separations, and wounds. The Buddha's work is to heal, to mend, to nurture, and my path is a continuation of that work. If I have another year, I will continue for another year. If I have 2 years, I will continue for 2 years. There is nothing special I need to accomplish. Before I die, the things I need to do, I have already done, I am doing, and I will continue doing until I can no longer do them, and even when I can no longer continue. My disciples will continue for me. Looking deeply, I see that I am my disciples. I am the Buddha, and so I do not die. I have already entered into my students, and they will carry me forward into the future. The work of healing and nourishing will continue, even after I pass through the hands of my disciples. So I could tell the journalist I will never die. But the journalist has not studied the Dharma, so they may not understand. However, through deep practice, we can come to see the truth that our nature is unborn and undying. Birth and death are only appearances. In Zen tradition, a fundamental practice is to discover our true face, our original nature. In the evening chanting, we recite clearly, seeing the true face beyond illusion and delusion. Sitting solidly under the Bodhi tree, body and mind at peace, free from discrimination. In mindfulness, we abide clearly, seeing the true face beyond illusion and delusion. What is our true face? Have we discovered it yet? If we haven't, then we haven't yet realized our ultimate purpose. As practitioners, our goal is not to build great temples, create famous retreats, or achieve high positions in the Buddhist order. Those things may happen, but they are not the purpose of our practice. Our true purpose is to realize our original face, our ultimate nature. Who am I? Why am I here? What is the meaning of my existence? These are the essential questions of our path. And when someone asks us for a photo, we want to find a picture from when we were young and beautiful to give them. If we have older or less flattering photos, we say, "That's not me." Instead, we identify ourselves with the image of when we were a 22-year-old, young man, or a 20-year-old, beautiful young woman. But is that really our true face? No, if that were truly our real face. Why did it only last for a few years before changing into another face? I know that the image of that handsome young man or that beautiful young woman at 20-something is not my true face. The true image of myself is something else. It transcends all external appearances. That is called the Ban Lai Dinamusi, original face. Listen to this wonderful sound. It brings me back to my true self. But what is your true self? There was once a woman named Edwin Best. She was a Protestant and was passionate about working for peace. She volunteered at the office of the Unified Buddhist Church of Vietnam in Paris. She was fluent in English, literature, and was already over 70 years old. But she was still in good health. Every day she climbed 5 flights of stairs to the 5th floor of the office to work and assist the teacher. She firmly believed that when she died, she would go to heaven. Her belief was simple and unwavering. When she passed away, she would reunite with her late husband, who had died at the age of 28. She cherished the image of him as a young man, even though she herself was over 70. One day, the teacher asked her, "Madam, when you die and go to heaven, how old do you want to be? Do you want to be 58? She hesitated. "Now that you are old, but you will meet a young man. Wouldn't it be an odd match?" This question upset her. She had never thought about it this way. If she were to become young again, how young would she be? Would she become a child of 3 years old, while her husband remained 28? That would be like father and child, not a couple. This thought troubled her, because people's beliefs can often be very naive. We think that when we enter heaven, we will reunite with our loved ones in the form we remember, even though in reality we have aged. Our teeth have fallen out, and our faces have changed. That night, perhaps she lost sleep because she had never questioned her own belief before. What is our true face? How do you really look like? How does your original nature appear? In Zen tradition, people sometimes present koans to help us reflect. For example, they might ask, "What was your face like before your grandmother was born?" This question suggests that we existed before our grandparents, but in what form? What were our eyes like our nose? Our mouth? Help me, dear friend. What did you look like before the birth of your grandparents? Such questions are common in Zen tradition. They invite us to embark on a journey to discover our true selves. To practice Zen is to set out on a journey to find oneself. All other things building temples, running monasteries, giving Dharma talks, writing books, and studying scriptures are just means to an end. The real goal is to discover our ban lai dinamusi. Original face. If we cannot achieve this, then how can people who live in the world, burdened with jobs, ordinary people must work, raise families, and tend to countless obligations. If even a practitioner cannot uncover their true self, how can those caught in the busy world ever do it? So let us breathe deeply and ask ourselves the essential question. Who am I? A Zen master once asked his disciples. You wake up at 5 a.m. Sit in meditation. Why do you do this? What are you looking for? We are given the opportunity to sit in meditation in the morning, to meditate again in the evening, to practice on retreat days. But if not to find our true face, then what is the purpose? If becoming a monk or nun does not offer us a greater chance to discover ourselves, then what is the point? In the monastery, we have the chance to wash dishes in silence, to garden in silence, to perform daily tasks in mindfulness. These are precious opportunities to seek out our true nature. To see our true nature is to attain true freedom. Freedom from fear. Freedom from birth and death. In Buddhism, seeing one's nature is called kentan. Seeing the nature. Once we see our true nature, we are no longer bound by illusions. If a practitioner does not succeed in this, then when they die, they become wandering spirits, no different from ordinary lost souls. The Buddha taught that the lifespan of a Buddha is infinite. It does not end. The same is true for Amitabha Buddha, whose name means infinite life. If we read the Diamond Sutra deeply, we learn that not only is the Buddha's lifespan infinite, but ours is as well. We mistakenly believe that we are born in 1 year and die in another, that our lifespan is limited to a few decades. But the Diamond Sutra teaches that we must transcend for notions. The notion of self-na, the idea that there is a fixed, independent me. The notion of person nan, distinguishing between self and others. The notion of living beings, Chung San, differentiating between sentient beings and non-sentient objects like trees and rocks. The notion of lifespan, though man, believing that life has a beginning and an end. These four notions must be overcome. The notion of self tells us, I am one Ven Lo, and everything that is not one Ven Lo is not me. But in reality, who are we? Our true nature is beyond birth and death. Our existence is not confined to the short years. We live in this body. This is what Zen teaches us. To look deeply and see beyond illusions. Everything else, trees, land, birds, animals, people from different countries, is not me. I am just Mr. Banglo worrying all day. Or I am Mrs. Trantiso. Just Mrs. Trantiso. The Diamond Sutra helps us search for ourselves. Many sutras serve the same purpose. Many sutras are meant to provide us with tools to explore and discover ourselves. The Diamond Sutra teaches us to look deeply into what we call self, to see the things we think are not self within us. For example, when we look at a leaf, we see elements that are not the leaf within it. In Buddhism, we do not engage in abstract philosophy. Instead, we have concrete methods of discovery. When we say, this is a leaf, we often think that the leaf is not a flower, not a tree, not the soil, not a rock. However, if we look deeply into the leaf, we will see that it contains all these elements. For instance, a cloud is present in the leaf, because without clouds, there would be no rain. And without rain, the leaf could not exist. Therefore, the leaf contains the cloud. Similarly, the sun is not a leaf. But if we remove sunlight from the leaf, The leaf cannot survive. The leaf is made of sunlight. Thus, when we look into ourselves deeply, we see what we think is not us, actually existing within us. Without practicing this method, we can never truly discover our true nature. A wave on the ocean, for example, appears to rise and fall, to be born and to disappear. Observing it from the surface, it seems to have a beginning and an end, to be high or low. But if we look deeply into the wave, we see that it is made of water, and its height, shape, and movement are all conditioned by other waves and by water itself. When we study it closely, we realize that one wave is made of all other waves. Most importantly, we see that the wave is water. When the wave realizes that it is water, it overcomes its fear of birth and death, of high and low, of coming and going. The wave discovers its true face and no longer fears. It is not born because of birth, and it does not cease to exist because of death. This is the most important journey of life. The journey to discover our true self. The Diamond Sutra is one of the scriptures that can serve as nourishment for this journey. Nourishment here means the essential provisions needed for quest. Just as when we go on a picnic, we bring mats, umbrellas, and food. Or when we set out on a long sea voyage, we bring food for the journey. The Diamond Sutra is like that, essential provision for our spiritual journey. In the past, many spiritual seekers traveled from mountain to mountain, province to province, in search of enlightenment. These seekers wore old shoes, faded robes, and carried with them only the Diamond Sutra. They were not content with the comforts of monastery life, having meals provided daily, a private room and basic amenities. Instead, they sought something truly meaningful for their lives. These travelers were called wandering monks, or cloud and water monks Ventui. Cloud and water signify the nature of their journey. Never staying in one place, unbound by material comforts. They sought teachers and companions to help them realize their true nature. This is why the Diamond Sutra holds a vital place in Zen traditions. Alongside the Heart Sutra, Prajna Paramam Ridya. It is a sharp tool for discovering one's true self. However, merely chanting the sutra. Without understanding or applying it is useless. One may memorize the entire text, recite it beautifully, but if one does not use it as a means of self-discovery, then chanting for 100 years would be in vain. We are taught that each of us possesses 3 bodies. The Dharma Body, then the and the transformation body on man. Discovering these 3 bodies within us is the key to realizing who we truly are. The Dharma Body is eternal and ever-present within us. Just as a wave does not need to seek water, it is already water. We do not need to seek enlightenment elsewhere. We are already the Dharma Body, but we must awaken to it. The greatest gift of spiritual practice is realizing our true form. The reward body is our most beautiful, radiant form. When we attain this, everything about us becomes beautiful. Birth is beautiful. Dwelling is beautiful. Aging is beautiful. And even passing away is beautiful. A leaf is beautiful when it is young, when it turns red and golden in autumn, and even when it falls to the ground. If we understand this, we do not cling to a single moment of our lives as the only beautiful moment. We are beautiful at all times. This is called the reward body in its purest form. The Buddha is not just the historical figure, born in Kapilavastu, who left his family attained enlightenment, taught for over 40 years and passed away in Kashmir. That is only one manifestation of the Buddha, like the reflection of the moon on water. If we cling to that image, we miss the true nature of the Buddha. That is why the Diamond Sutra says, "If you seek me through form, if you seek me through sound, you are on the wrong path and will never find me." In the song, Tim Now, seeking each other, there is a line. The Buddha is love, pure love. You are my first love. And that search is the main purpose of life. If I find the Blessed One, I find myself. I have found the Blessed One, I have found myself. These 2 sentences go closely together. Without the second sentence, we might not fully understand. The first one, I have found the Blessed One. I have found myself. The opposite is also true. If I have found myself, then I have found the Blessed One. That is why when we love, we can be deceived. We may become attached to a certain image. And when that image no longer manifests, we grieve. We suffer, we search for it. But we do not realize that new manifestations have appeared before us, and we pass by them without looking, rejecting them, ignoring them. In reality, the Blessed One is manifesting in these new forms for us, but we do not recognize him because we are attached to sound and form. In the Lotus Sutra, there is a very beautiful chapter about the Dharma of the Buddha Prabhupada. The story goes like this. While the Blessed One was expounding the Lotus Sutra, suddenly a great jeweled stupa appeared in the sky, floating majestically, adorned with precious gems. From inside the stupa, a sublime voice emerged saying, "Wonderful, wonderful." The Buddhist Sutra is expounding the Lotus Sutra so beautifully. Everyone present on Vulture Peak looked up in amazement. They were astonished that out of nowhere, a magnificent jeweled stupa had appeared, emitting such a sacred voice. They turned to the Blessed One, their teacher, the one they loved, and asked him why the stupa had manifested. The Buddha Sukamuni said, "Inside this jeweled stupa is a Buddha named Prabhupada. This Buddha has existed since ancient times, from an era long past. One of his great vows was that whenever a Buddha appeared in the world and began to expound the Lotus Sutra, he would manifest to bear witness and offer praise. That is why today, as I am expounding the Lotus Sutra, Buddha Prabhupada has appeared." The disciples, having heard this, wished to see Buddha Prabhupada. However, the door of the stupa was closed, and they did not know how to open it. They had no supernatural powers. They could only rely on their teacher. So they turned to the Buddha, Sakyamuni, and pleaded, "Master, please open the door so that we may see Buddha Prabhupada." The Blessed One shook his head and said, "This is difficult, but not impossible. If I make the effort, I can help you see him." He then explained, "The door of the stupa can only be opened if I call back all my transformation bodies." Only then did the disciples begin to understand that their teacher, the Buddha, had many transformation bodies, and that the physical form they saw before them, sitting on a rock expounding the Dharma, was merely one of them. At that moment, the Brutus Sokumani emitted a brilliant light from his forehead, illuminating the entire universe. As the light spread across the cosmos, countless transformation bodies of the Buddha, who had been teaching and guiding beings in various realms, began to return. Tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of Buddhist Sekumas. Manifestations arrived from all directions. The disciples were astonished. Until then, they had believed that their teacher was just the physical form. Before them, the body with eyes, a nose, ears, and a mouth. They were attached to that form and assumed that their teacher was limited to that singular body, but now they saw that their teacher pervaded the entire cosmos, manifesting in countless forms to guide beings everywhere. For the first time, they let go of their limited perception of the Buddha as just that one physical form. The Lotus Sutra is profound. If we do not read it with wisdom and concentration, we may not perceive its depth. The Blessed One skillfully removed the narrow view that his disciples had of him. They had thought of him as just one being, but now they saw that he was infinitely vast, existing in countless forms throughout the universe. When we love someone, we should be careful. Love is an opportunity to truly discover who they are. And when we realize their true essence, their Dharma body, we simultaneously realize our own. Otherwise, we remain trapped in the small confines of a single lifetime. In the Tibetan tradition, there is a beautiful belief. After a teacher passes away within a few years, their disciples seek their teacher's reincarnation in the form of a young child. They search carefully, bringing objects that the teacher once used and mixing them with other objects. If the child selects the correct items, it is believed that this is the teacher's reincarnation. They then take the child to the monastery to be raised and educated as the next teacher. This idea is touching and poetic. However, it is based on a linear perception of time, thinking that a teacher exists in one place, then moves to another following a straight line. But in reality, nothing moves in a straight line. Everything moves in cycles. If we look at a banana tree, we see that when the first leaf appears, it opens to receive sunlight, rain, and nutrients. It seems to live for itself, but in reality, it is living for the entire tree. For its younger leaves, the energy gathers is not just for itself. It nourishes the whole tree, and the leaves yet to unfold later. When this first leaf withers and falls, we might think it has perished. But in truth, all the energy it accumulated has been passed on. It is alive in the new leaves, in the blossoms, in the fruit. Looking deeply, we see that the leaf never truly died. It continues in new forms. Similarly, when asked, "Teacher, what do you wish to do before you die?" the answer is, "I do not wish to do anything special. I have never stopped doing what I do, nurturing, continuing the work of my ancestors, my parents, my teachers, my students. That is my role. And because of this way of life, I am not born and I do not die." One does not need to wait 3 years after a teacher's passing to search for a reincarnation. The teacher has already been reborn in countless ways. In every moment, the teacher's Dharma body is alive in the words, in the books, in the students who practice. It is alive in a prisoner who, after reading a book, starts practicing mindfulness. It is alive in monks and nuns in Catholic monasteries, who, after reading, gain a deeper understanding of Buddhism and their own Christian faith. The teacher is present everywhere. One does not need to wait years to search for a child, to identify as a reincarnation. The teacher's continuation is already here, in countless forms, visible to the eyes of wisdom. Thus, the correct answer is, I will never die. I was never truly born. And I will never truly perish. If we love our teacher, we must seek to truly see them. When we recognize their true essence, we are no longer sorrowful. When their physical form disappears, because we see them everywhere, in limitless manifestations. And when we realize this, we also see our own true nature, our Dharma body, our continuation, which is also infinite, and beyond birth and death. This is true love, the love that brings freedom.